why we do something is much more important than what we actually do. And that is why in this video, I want to share with you three different things. Number one, I want to share with you why the question why makes us all so uncomfortable. Number two, I want to share with you what is a better way to use the question why. And number three, and lastly, I want to share with you why it is that I want to help you with your job search. And the reason is very simple. Applying for a job, it's easy. Right now, you can do it with the click of a button. If you have access to any smart device or a computer, a laptop, a desktop, you can apply to a job. You can use anything like LinkedIn. You can use anything like Indeed. You can apply for jobs on social media with Facebook. You can actually look for jobs and just apply with your own profile. And that is because applying for a job, the internet has made it so easy. Just because it is easy does not necessarily mean that you are necessarily doing it right. And that is why the last thing I want to share with you in this video is, well, why should you do it better? Or why do I want to help you with your job search? So first of all, let's talk about why the question why makes us all so uncomfortable. Have you ever asked someone why? Have you ever said things like, well, why are you late? Why did you do this, that, or the other? Why are you even saying that? If you've ever asked anyone the question why, you could have been surprised by their response. You could have been surprised by the reaction, and you really could have been surprised by what came out of their mouth, right? To respond and to respond to you. But then there's also, have you ever been asked the question why? Like, have someone asked you why? Chances are someone probably did that today. Chances are you've encountered someone and you've had a dialogue around why you did something or why you said something, right? Because the reality of the situation is that if you were asked the question why, that probably could have taken you back a little, or you could have even surprised yourself with what came out of your mouth. And the reason is because why makes us all super uncomfortable. We dislike it. And the reason we dislike it is because as soon as we hear the question why, or as soon as we say the question why, or ask someone why, it puts us in a defensive position. When you ask someone why they do something, then they have to go into a defensive mode to defend their actions, to defend what they said, and to really just defend themselves. When you are asked the question why, that puts you in a defensive position to defend what it is that you said, defend what it is that you did, and just overall defend you, the person, right? And so to respond to the question why really puts us in a defensive mode. And to have to defend ourselves, it's uncomfortable. We dislike it. Why do I have to defend my actions? Why do I have to defend what I said, right? It's like an internal struggle that we have. And that is why it makes us all very uncomfortable. And the reason is very simple. And that is because the question why, right? If we look at it, then really the common uses for it is to address the reasons and explanations. The minute we hear the question why, the minute we articulate, we say or we ask someone why, we're really looking for the reasons why they did something. We're looking for an explanation why they said something. And that is why we go into defense mechanism, right? And so I learned very early on that whenever I'm questioning someone, I have to be very mindful of my uses of the word why, because the last thing you want to do is make someone feel like you are interrogating them, right? Interrogations should only happen in a criminal sense, right? Whenever someone is being interrogated, when someone is being questioned, it's because they have to give explanations, they have to give reasons, and they have to justify their actions. And so the last thing we really want to do is put people in that position to have to do so. That is why we dislike it. It's uncomfortable. But then it's questions like when we say things like, well, why? Just that 3-letter word puts us in the defense mechanism. But then there's also why not? But why not? It's a little bit more positive, because then it's like, well, why not? Why can't I do this? Then there's the why is that? Why are you doing that? Or the why should I? If you've ever asked any one of those, then chances are, it's hinting at some sort of reasons or explanations that you're either about to give or you're asking for someone else. Now, the other common uses for the question why are to express surprise, indignation, and emphasis, we might say things like, well, why that's absurd. Granted, in the US, we don't necessarily talk like this, but nonetheless, it's an expression that is very well used and known. Then there's also the why on earth would I have said such a thing? Why on earth would I have done such a thing? Surprise, indignation. And then there's the why, yes, I would love to do that. Why, no, why would I want to do that? So, all of those things, whenever we want to express surprise, we might say, why? Why? But we might also be expressing indignation. Why would I do that? Or we can really just be hinting at an emphasis. Why, yes, I want to do that. Why, no, I do not want to do that. Those are the common uses. But just because those are the common uses and why makes us uncomfortable, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a better way to use why. And that leads me to the second thing of what are some of the better ways to use the question why. And the best uses are to go ahead and hint or get at a purpose or a cause. What if we use the question why when we want to figure out the purpose for something? Better yet, what if we use the question why when we want to get to the cause, the root cause of something? Chances are that if you're a person of faith and you've encountered a difficult situation, you might have heard people say things like, don't ask God why such a thing. Don't ask why me, why this, or because we've been ingrained not to ask for reasons or explanations of God. But really, what if we asked, well, why? What is the purpose of this situation? What is the cause? Like, why am I going through this, right? Those type of questions might lead us to a better response. It might put us in a better frame of mind. So there are some good ways to use the question why. And if there are some very good uses for the question why, then there's a best way to use it. And that is the Toyota way. The Toyota way, and this leads me to the second thing that I want to share with you, is what is the best way to use the question why? What is the better way to use it? The Toyota way is very simple. They call it a 5 why, and we'll find out what that means. But the Toyota way, really, it's a management philosophy. It's something that has been studied for decades. There's books written about it. And it's just known worldwide for, Toyota is really known for their management practices, for their philosophy, and for all around coming up, really, they were kind of the originators of the lean manufacturing process. And so, but the Toyota way really has two tenets. The first tenet is respect people. An integral part to their production system is the respect for people. And the second thing, and the thing that I want us to focus on, is the continuous improvement. The Toyota way really embodies the ideology of Kaizen. And Kaizen, all that means is a Japanese word that expresses the idea of change for the better. Kaizen is making incremental improvements, no matter how small. So Toyota has been known for making their system, optimizing their system to really make change for the better. And that is what leads us to the 5 why analysis. This is asking why the Toyota way. The Toyota way really, it's a way of problem solving. And all it is how do we get to the root of a problem? Well, Toyota came up with this very simple way of saying, if we want to get to the root cause of a problem, then let's ask why 5 different times. So the better way to use the question why is to solve a problem. If you want to solve a problem, then the Toyota way tells us, let's ask why 5 different times. And in asking and realizing this, well, then there is the problem that I started out at the beginning of this video was saying, applying for a job, it's easy. That's easy. That's a given. That's just a matter of fact. Now, the problem associated with that is that just because it's easy, the problem is that you might be doing it wrong. And so if you're applying for jobs wrong, then let's ask why that is. But this is the problem, first of all. This is where I noticed it. This is where I observed the problem in this context. I directed a child care center for a couple of years, actually like 4 or 5 years to be exact. And one of the things that I noticed is that people think caring for children is easy until they realize it's not. I'll say that again. People think caring for children is easy until they realize it's not. So you might be like, well, I'm not taking care of children. I don't work with children. What does that even have to do with me? Chances are there's something with your job or a job that you're trying to get that you think it's easy. But once you get started, you realize it's not. Well, what I've noticed that happens is the minute that we realize that a job is not easy, we might not like it, it's uncomfortable, it's really stretching us beyond the point we want to be stretched, that the first thing we do is we must quit. And if you quit, then you must get another job. Or you're going to have to think of a new opportunity for yourself in order to make a living. But the reason I bring this up is because the problem I observe is that people think caring for children is easy. So in the childcare space, in early childhood education, it's a high turnover. It's a very big problem. There's different reasons why that happens. One of the reasons is that because people think working with children is easy, and when they realize it's not easy, they quit. And if they quit, then that puts the onus on the management to have to go out and recruit more people. And that's exactly what I had to do. I had to recruit people to work at our center. Now, when I did this, I realized that it was very easy for people to apply. Whenever I posted the job anywhere, people could just apply with a click of a button. I posted the job on social media and people could just apply. I posted the job on Indeed and people applied. I believe I posted on LinkedIn, and people can apply that way too. So the application process was not necessarily the problem. The problem was that people were doing it all wrong. And that takes me back to the point of that applying to a job may be easy, but just because it's easy, that doesn't necessarily mean that you might be doing it wrong. Chances are you are doing it wrong. So the Toyota way, then, it leads me to ask them, well, why is this happening? Why are people applying for jobs and doing it all wrong? And so if we're going to do this the Toyota way, then I'm going to have to ask why 5 different times. And these are some of the realizations that I came up with. When I asked why the first time, well, why is it that people are applying for jobs and they're doing it wrong? People are doing it wrong because they're writing bad resumes. People are writing a bad resume. The reason why it's easy for people to apply for a job, but then they're doing it wrong, is because the resume is bad. You don't understand how many bad resumes I saw. People just naturally struggle writing a good resume. Well, then if the next thing, then I was like, okay, then, well, why are people writing such bad resumes? And then that took me to that second why. And what I realized is that people don't take the time to learn how to write a good resume. Writing a resume is hard. Writing a resume is grueling work. Writing a resume is we dread it. We don't want to do it. Whenever I think about applying for a new opportunity or new job, coming up with a resume and having to update it, that is the last thing I want to do. But it is the first thing we must do, because that is the one thing that everybody is looking for. Any hiring manager, they're going to want to see a resume. Think about it. A resume, it's a summary, right? Resume, if we can translate it that way, resume is just a summary of your experiences. And so it is a very quick and simple way to articulate and to demonstrate what it is that you've done in the past. But nonetheless, it is very, very difficult. And so the first why I said, well, people are applying for jobs and they're doing it wrong. Well, why they're doing that? Well, because they have a bad resume. Well, why do people have a bad resume? Because they don't necessarily take the time to write or to learn how to write the resume. Maybe they didn't have access to someone that can teach them to do that. Well, then the Toyota way tells me then, well, why is that happening? Asking why a third time. And that led me to the realization that people are just not good at talking about themselves. In reviewing hundreds of resumes, I realized that the thing that people do wrong is talking about themselves. Usually the resume, when I get someone's resume, the first thing I notice is that people in the resumes tend to write job descriptions. They don't necessarily describe their accomplishments and their actions and their results within a job position. And that is because Writing a resume, people struggle with it. They don't take the time to learn how to do it. But the reason why is because people dread talking about themselves. People are not good at talking about themselves. Well, then that was the third time I asked why. That's what I came up with. And so, but this cannot just be the end all result, or this is not necessarily the cause. There must be another underlying reason why this happens. And so the Toyota way tells me, ask why one more time. And when I asked why one more time, I realized that people just simply do not know their strengths. Applying for a job is easy, but the chances of you doing it wrong is because, well, then you really don't know your strengths. You really don't know what it is that you're good at. And if you don't know what you're good at, then you're not necessarily going to express that well in your resume. And if you don't express that well in your resume, you're not going to write a good resume. If you're not writing a good resume, then you're really not doing this the right way. And maybe that's why you're struggling so much. And maybe that's why you've struggled in the past to find a position that you're most suited for, right? So people just don't know their strength. There is a lack of awareness. And so the Toyota way tells me, well, then there must be an underlying reason for this, to why this happens. If you're really going to solve this problem, I must ask why one more time. And when I asked why one more time, I realized that people are just not taught to have confidence in themselves. People are not taught to have confidence in themselves. The reason people struggle so much when it comes to looking for a job, even though applying for a job is easy, the reason people struggle so much to find a job that they're most suited for is because they haven't been taught. They were not necessarily educated. They were not necessarily trained or coached on how to have confidence in themselves. So then here you are, having to express your strengths, but you're not really aware of your strength, and you're having to write a resume, but you can't really express your accomplishments in terms of your strengths because you cannot really articulate them. And so if your resume is not necessarily good, then we go back all the way to the beginning. And that is why the job search is such a struggle for so many people, because simply people are not taught to have confidence in themselves. And why is that important? Because when you go to look for an opportunity, when you go to present yourself, the one thing that you must radiate is confidence. If you're confident, as the hiring manager, I will be confident in you. But if you're not confident that you can do the job, much less why should I give you my vote of confidence if you yourself are not confident in yourself? So to summarize, then what I realized in asking why 5 times, right? The problem that I identified is that although applying for a job may be easy, a lot of people are doing it all wrong. And well, then that led me to ask, well, why are people doing it wrong? Well, they're writing bad resumes. Well, why are they writing bad resumes? Well, because people are not taking the time to write good resumes. They're just not learning how to do it well. But then why are people not doing so well? Because people are not good at talking about themselves. Well, why are people not good at talking about themselves? Because people just don't know their strengths. They're not self-aware. They don't know themselves. Well, then why are people not self-aware? Because people were not necessarily taught to have confidence. People were not taught, people were not trained, people were not coached in how to be confident in their skills, in their abilities, in the things that they can do. And so that is really the reason why I want to help you with your job search, or finding your next opportunity, or even making a transition within your career. And so the question is, are you people? Are you people? Meaning, are you one of those people that really struggles with this process? Are you one of those people that dress to sit down to have to write out a resume? Are you one of those people that really struggles with just identifying what is it that I do well? What is it that I'm good at? Are you one of those people that really struggles with confidence, and that, it's like you suffer from an endless chronic imposter syndrome, that meaning that you really are not confident in knowing that you might want to do something, but imposter syndrome tells you, well, you can't do that. And so you struggle with the confidence of how to portray that to other people, of things that you can do, things that you might be good at. And so then that led me to come up with an offer. And the offer that I'm making you is this: I want to help you with your job search process. And you might be, we are in the hustle economy, right? We are in the creator economy, meaning that there's a gazillion million different ways that you can be an entrepreneur, and then you can really create an opportunity for yourself. And there's a lot of different spaces that you can do that. The digital space really facilitates that. There's different things. You might have an idea that has been burning in the back of your mind for years now, that you're like, I must do something with this. And so if that is the case, you still need to play by some of these rules, right? Because you still need to project confidence in whatever it is that you want to set out to do. And so my offer is simply this. My offer is jarisagarcia.com, jarisagarcia.com. I really want to help you in your search, and I want to invite you to join this movement. So jarisagarcia.com is really a one-stop shop to help you build your confidence in this process. Whatever opportunity that might be waiting for you, whatever opportunity that you want to create, or whatever opportunity it is that you want to pursue, I want to help you get into the best position to find it. And so jarisagarcia.com. It's fully available for you, and it has resources, things like courses, and also a couple of guides to guide you through some of the things to do within looking for your next opportunity. But then I'm really excited to come back in the podcast space, and jarisagarcia.com really has all of the details for it. But in the end, what I really, 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 my offer to you is I want to help you come up in your confidence. How can we get you ready for your next job or your next opportunity? So if you're ready to do so, then head on over to jarisagarcia.com, find me there, and then let's help you get to that next opportunity. I'll see you there.